How did we get here, man? How is it? I feel like I'm in purgatory right now. I have looped right back to the exact same scenario once again. There are a brand new, fully animated-ish 8 episodes of Megamind Rules. Season 1 isn't even done. This isn't Season 2 stuff. This is Season 1, Part 2. Oh, okay. I didn't know that was an option. We haven't seen anything from the terrible Megamind franchise at this point since March 1st. Now we are at June 20th, and it's here again. It looks exactly the same. It is exactly what you expect, but also, oh boy, do we go through some trials and tribulations. Now, alongside the fact that we're making an obvious terrible review episode here today, I also have recorded myself an unwatched episode that will be releasing when it's ready. It's a 4-hour binge. So do look forward to that in the future. I've also got a fun announcement in that video when it comes to be. But for now, let's do a deep dive episode by episode of even more horrendously terrible Megamind Rules. And if you haven't already, check out our review on the last 8 episodes. All you really need to know is it looks terrible, and Megamind has been ousted as the ultimate villain after spending the whole time being a hero. Outcasted and shoving his phone out to say, look, we're gonna do Metromine next, we come to episode 9, Hero for a Day. The whole city thinks Megamind is a villain, and so he has been outcasted. But also, now, a full month has just passed. Randomly. Okay, excuse me? So all of the build-up for that climax, forget about it. It's time skip time, baby. This is the new status quo. Okay, diving right in. We get some more new characters to introduce to the world that we didn't really need. Namely, Keiko's mother. Remember Keiko, the child that's surprisingly inhumanly smart because she's the self-insert for the audience demographic? Yeah, she has a mum now because they're staying at her place in their outcasted form. She is not a fun character by any means, and I doubt any of the 5-year-olds that are the, audience for this terrible show really enjoy her either. She's just whiny. All the while, Machiavellian, our beautiful big bad, if you say so, has introduced the Hero for a Day program, although this will never appear again in the entire series. But it brings up a brand new child character for us to hate. I kid you not, his name is Super Cool Power Kid. That is it, that's all he's called. Don't even know what his powers is. He has a helmet that they give him, so I don't know, man. He is canonically 7 years old, by the way. I hate this kid too. I think he was in the first half, but I'll be honest, I don't really remember. I try and blot out Megamind Rules. Honestly, I'm surprised that there's even more content to talk about, and so soon. I literally feel like I'm in my own form of purgatory, and I wouldn't be surprised if every 3 months there would be new content for me to fall in despair over. Either way, this now new Super Cool Power Kid, he's the new villain / hero, given a helmet that sent out some sort of laser beam powers with different settings to disrupt Megamind now that he is the villain to, the crime guy to get rid of. And then nothing of note happens with it. There's a point where the kid corners them in an alleyway, Megamind escapes, and then Machiavellian immediately just appears to that alleyway on his little bots, just floats on down like it was just round the corner. So there's no tension of actually finding Megamind, he could just appear wherever he wants to, and the kid doesn't really do anything, just chases them. After spending about 20 minutes of the episode running down the same straight street, Megamind then eventually convinces Super Cool Power Kid that he is in fact still a hero by saving him. And then the kid turns around on Megamind. It's a political show, totally. And that is the theme. It's Megamind slowly turning the city around on him not being outcasted as a villain. Also, yeah, you know how Metro Man was kind of the whole endgame spoiler at the end of the first half of the season? Yeah, he is nowhere to be seen. It has been a month and nothing has happened to follow up on that clear marketing cliffhanger. I mean, it's kind of a blessing. I don't want to see him in this poor lighting system, but even still, with that in mind, let's dive into episode 10 of Mice That Are Men. Spoilers, there is no Lenny in the show, so nobody dies. Now, this one is all about that classic background stage that we sure love and adore from the series that is the supermarket. As Megamind has gone undercover to disguise himself back into society. If only there was some in-universe mechanic that would allow Megamind to integrate with society undercover in order to live a normal life. That sure would be useful in the world of Megamind. Nope, it's a new character. Bernard who? It's time for Michael Mind. Seriously. And he's now taken up a retail job. whereby there is a mystery to the side about the whereabouts of employees who have gone missing. And so, one night in the dark, Megamind is confronted with a monster. Right around establishing at the same time that Machiavellian now has merch figurines that are practically incendiary grenades. They're such a fire hazard. And it's all to introduce some crazy new expansions to the Megamind universe. Actual animal people! This Ratman was in fact a past employee and isn't a villain. He's just diligently destroying the fire hazard merch. That's all. Soon enough, the whole warehouse is in blazes. The next morning, everyone and their mother, for some reason, is here at this early hour, including Roxanne and her assistant character. Megamind comes in to expose his identity, saves the past mayor, who is now just a retail manager, talk about a downgrade, and then he and the Ratman are crowned as heroes of the day. After the first episode turned around one person, this one turns around one group, which just happened to be in the area. You can see the simplicity of this series' story, right? After the first half of the season was just complete brain rot, but not even in a fun, energetic Gen Alpha comedy way, just schmuck rekindled together like cliches slapping it together with spit. This is just exactly more of the same. But also, why introduce actual animal people? So, he was a scientist before, I think testing on mice to try to cure fear, as if that's something you can just cure, and now, any moment he has fear, he is a mouse guy. He becomes a human by the end of the episode by removing himself of any fear, but ironically, by removing himself of a genuine human emotion, I would argue he is now less human than he was in his animal form. This is so stupid. But that's not even close to the end of it, as up next we have Episode 11, Game Over. This is a time loop episode. How cool! Megamind has been shoved into a simulation now, whereby he's living the same day again and again. And the catch is, he keeps instantly resetting every time he does something wrong? But what is the wrong answer, you may ask? The scene takes an agonizingly long amount of time working that out themselves, as Megamind chooses every wrong option possible before coming close to any conclusion. In fact, he doesn't even notice he's in a time loop until he's gone on to his third life. Like, literally, he perfectly replicated his second try, never even thinking that this was slightly weird that he's already done this before. Madness! There is nothing going on inside that oversized skull. Anyway, Megamind is being trained, it turns out, to return to evil. He is rewarded for evil deeds, but specific evil deeds. Killing the Doom Syndicate? Bad. Hey look, in this episode, they even showcase that he could have used the dehydration ray to destroy them all instantly, but he only has the brain power to think of that 11 episodes after it was relevant in the pseudo-movie. But then at the same time, being too kind as a host to the Doom Syndicate is also bad. Or when taking stuff out of a store, he keeps resetting when he leaves with stuff, regardless of whether he paid or tied people up. And then one day it just works because he just did enough evil, I guess. It's kind of nonsensical and not really explained. And there seems to be an element of him resetting way back to the start of the day rather than checkpoints every 3 lives. But again, it's never really addressed, so sometimes he's just back to being in his bed and they don't mention it. All the while, Roxanne and Keiko have an arc trying to find the kidnapped Megamind who's been taken into the invisible car and strapped into the simulation in there. It's a Machiavellian and Doppler plan. Eventually, they pull him out of the simulation and Megamind doesn't realize. So he goes out of his way to continue doing evil IRL, all in the hunt of points given out by the machine on his wrist. It's stupid. He's just stuck on the feedback loop of rewards from a mobile app. It's managing somehow to destroy the character arc of someone even during their own series. Like, I get it that it's not the same as the original movie. You can ruin that as much as you want, but you've ruined your own character that you've rewritten. But he finally switches back after shoving Roxanne off of a building. What a palaver, and what a way to ruin what could otherwise be an interesting, if not cliche premise of a time loop mechanic, but it just gets too muddled somehow along the way. Nothing can be done successfully in this damn series. But episode 12 is the real big one, Blue Prison. I wonder why they call it that. Megamind has been placed in prison now, and plans to get out. And of course, what this calls for is an Avengers-level team-up, as several characters from the series past are all lumped together to band up. You got Monkey Boy, his barely named sidekick, Ratman, and that one homeless guy who was the butt of the joke from the first half. His power is just being weird. tasteful. All the while, the Doom Syndicate are now the guards of this prison for some reason, and keep foiling their plans in montage form. Only for the reveal to come out that one of the 3 characters left from the original movie are making an unceremonious reappearance. Yes, it is him. It is Metro Man. Hey there, welcome to the halfway mark of this video. This is the point where we tell you to subscribe if you're interested in future terrible episodes and new movie reviews. This could very well be one of the very last terrible episodes, as I'm thinking of bringing this series to a retirement. Instead, warping it into the Unwatched series, where we watch these unseen movies for the very first time. Bash 'em live. As I said at the start of this video, we are also doing one of this specific 4-hour chunk of Megamind rules. It is quite the time, so do subscribe to keep an eye out for that in the near future. But otherwise, thanks for making it halfway through. I thought I should say I appreciate you. And let's get back to the rest of the terrible Megamind rules part 2, as you'll get to hear even more my voice slowly disappearing. Good times. I need to go to bed. Forget the whole calling him on the phone from episode 8. They come up upon him by chance in prison. And why is he in prison, you may be asking? Well, because apparently he needed an isolated place in order to help him focus so that he could do more on his music, which he is currently struggling to write. Okay, except that you had an entire island of isolation to yourself. You already had all the assets to hunker down and focus on your music. Furthermore, he makes a specific point that someone hooked him up with this great crib in a cell, which of course that means he exposed his secret identity to someone about the fact that he is in fact alive. Like the first 2 lines this guy says in this series, and already they've completely tarnished the concept of the character, beyond just how weirdly off-putting he looks in the visual aesthetic. Markiplier has never looked worse. But there's more. Music Man has a conflict of his own in this prison. You see, he has a severe case, I kid you not, of frightening, crippling stage fright on stage. Are you actually kidding me? Metro Man, the man who has specifically performed endless public speeches in front of the entire population of Metro City, now suddenly has stage fright and can't be perceived in front of people. Even if you try to justify it as music performance he can't do, that is a flimsy argument at absolute best. Also, nobody in this series even seems to ever bring up the fact that he is Metro Man. He's only referred to as Music Man. No one seems to be enthralled by his appearance, and everyone listens to his music with no intention of bringing up that he was that super cool hero of the past. It is so brain-rotted, the writing of this story, man. He's not even in disguise. He grew a beard. That is beyond Clark Kentisms, you know? And so, we briefly turn the show into a musical. Why? I have no idea, so let's skip all of that, shall we? Anyway, after sorting out his personal quest, the guy then punches a hole in the prison for everyone to leave. Also kind of out of character, don't you think, to suddenly open up an exit for all criminals of Metro City, considering he is likely the one who put them all in there in the first place? Don't think about it too much. In fact, don't think at all. That's the way to watch this movie. It's not even a movie, it's a series, but they look the damn same. Oh, but we're not done with him yet. Episode 13, The Art of Destruction. Now has Music Man as part of the crew hanging out at Keiko's place. Again, no one is starstruck about him, but at least we have more opportunity to absolutely defecate on any character traits this man has. So, time for some serious lore now. Whilst Megamind was given a fish by his parents upon planetary explosion, Music Man reveals he was given something else. So he flies into the core of the Earth, no biggie. All he does anyway now is fly with no finesse and punches holes in walls and floors. It's a really diluted form of his Superman parody, and brings out a stone. This is a stone which has the power to transfer powers between powerful people. i.e., it can switch the abilities of Metro Man and Megamind around. We've already had the Body Swap Roxanne episode and the Endless Clone Chum episode. All that's left is superpowers. I see the format. So off they go. Megamind can fly now, and that's about all he does with limitless Superman powers, and Music Man has the creative imagination to write music. All the while, a new villain has been created, a brutish construction worker frustrated for being undermined. So she becomes the Destruction Worker. Yep, that's the best they could come up with. Running around like an Underminer ripoff, her new plan is devastation, choosing to destroy her own construction building and aiming to destroy a neighborhood by flattening it in the debris. So forget Metro City, it's all about little Minneapolis or something like that. Strangely, suddenly grounded in American geography. I'm sure that's another way to checkbox that they've been completely mishandling this IP. Oh, also, the power swap has a quirk, of course. They lose their initial strength intensely, so Megamind starts to become incredibly dumb, as if that was even more possible. But by that we mean he can't even count to 5. You know, this is a show for 5-year-olds after all. And Metro Man loses the strength to even stand up from his desk. So they combine together to defuse all the bombs on the tower, except they don't! There's some sort of puzzle set up to defuse them in a certain order, but there's no clear direction, so they just plant all the bombs into the center of the building where the elevator is and let it explode and demolish anyway. But it didn't land on the residential district, so all is okay. Oh, okay. Property damage. It doesn't exist in a 5-year-old's brain. It's fine. There's also a part where we hear Music Man's new music at this climax, and he made a song at the frequency that only dogs could hear so that they could bark on command and play the song themselves. And so the soundtrack at this moment is literally like that one option in Wii Music, you know, where the instrument is just a crappy dog barking at notes? Yeah, true cinema, this. Music Man then darts off, never to be seen again. Like what? You did all this push for remarketing that he's gonna be in the second half, and then you make it appear for 2 episodes in the middle? What is this, man? Regardless, episode 14, Mission Makia Fest. All the other villains have been running around doing something or other throughout all of this series, by the way, as well as all sorts of other side main characters. You might have seen it in the shuffled footage, it's fine. And now there is to be a festival where Makia Villain gives a speech and a concert. I'll be honest, I remember a shockingly little amount of this episode, and I watched it like 3 hours ago. I remember the end, and when they're actually at the festival, maybe that was the whole episode, as there's somehow a lot of padding, and not a lot really happens in each episode, to be honest. Really diluted and bite-size, I guess? Empty, maybe is a better word for it. Though they do love to bombard you with adverts and buffering issues, as the video player on Peacock does not attempt to load progress while you're watching said ads. In fact, I think it completely resets, as I typically crashed pretty soon after any ads had taken place, despite the fact that I have the best Wi-Fi I could possibly have in my region. So it's just the Peacock servers themselves actually bricking themselves trying to run the show. It's literally been unwatchable for me. Anyway, the rip-off Avengers gate-crash the festival, some people are captured by the robots, everyone clubs together for one task for some reason, and Roxanne pops up as well, outing Makia Villain as the real villain in her speech. And then, the ending. Oh, oh god. Ah, God. Roxanne actually exposes him by showing some body cam footage of one of the drones showing him telling his plan to the Doom Syndicate. That was it. The whole episode was about the Ripengers grabbing SD cards from all of the bots. And the crowd now hates him, recognizing him for what he is. Megamind wins, laughing in his face for losing finally. But Makia Villain doesn't care. He instead goes for a performance. He's all about presentation in a way that this Megamind has somehow forgotten. So, it's another musical number. Makia Villain begins singing to the crowd. It's some rock song about how you can never be as great as the original. How ironic. And then he hits an extraordinarily high whistle note that would be impressive if it wasn't faked. And everyone, absolutely everybody, turns evil. Their eyes go red, Megamind's doesn't, and he runs away from the full mob trying to mob him, I guess. How does it work? Beats me, we'll learn later. Leading us into episode 15. Yeah, not even the last episode yet, somehow this is a 3-parter. Villain City. Megamind is back to being outcasted and completely alone. Oh, except for Kaiko, our classic way too smart self-insert child for the new demographic to latch onto. She was conveniently too sick to reach the festival and so is unaffected. And they go out trying to cure the people. You know, there's a lot of fluff in this episode. Everyone's doing evil, so the show showcases what it thinks is evil for a 5-year-old, and lots of car destroying, really. But eventually, they kidnap Kaiko's mum. Yeah, remember her? They set up a torture system and come to learn that blocking her ears stops the hypnosis. From that alone, they realize it's a frequency thing. Makia Villain sang at such a frequency that it couldn't be heard, and if it's still transmitting now, it must still be going. From a satellite. It's the only way. Also looping us back to the dog whistle song from Music Man. They then end up at the Megamind lair again. All the locations are recycled to hell and back, by the way. And the Doom Syndicate are going through it. See, as well as all of this, Machiavellian nabbed Metro Man's power-swapping stone at one point. The Doom Syndicate rose up against Machiavellian. He won, caged them all, and then used the stone to inhale all of their powers combined for himself. Somehow, we've gotten here, he's literally ripped off All for One, and the rest of the episode is the climax of everyone against each other. Ratman versus Megamind and Keiko on the streets, the Doom Syndicate coming together against Machiavellian, except there's no meshing together, they just untactically sit on each other's shoulders. I am not even making this up, it's ridiculous. And eventually, Keiko of all people, of course, gets a bit too close to Machiavellian and manages to pull off his binky, thus dissolving his corporeal form, and he melts into the computer. So he becomes digitized, right? Makes sense, a conscious hologram. Oh no! One more thing, Evil Roxanne! I have been shouting about this show so much, my voice is long gone. I've already spent a whole 4 hours screaming about this show, and I think the symptoms of it are clear. How? Where was she when he dissolved? Why? This is the combined force of Machiavellian too. She now has incorporated the 4 powers of the Doom Syndicate, somehow. The true big bad as we run into the finale. Episode 16. Thrilling conclusions, if you say so. Here, it's Megamind versus Roxanne. And let's just take a pause for a minute. If you had to predict how this episode ends, really think in the void for a moment, how do you think it would happen? Yeah, that'd be about right. She's chased him for the majority of this episode down the street and through those classic crappy backgrounds we've all been forcibly exposed to. The supermarket, the Doom Syndicate offices, all of it really, like a nice nostalgic final run. Keiko has been trapped at the lair as the entire evil population of Metro City are coming to hoard against her. The unpowered Doom Syndicate help out. I, on a more personal note, was being bombarded with buffering ads and buffering ads, which led into a total breakdown on my part. Unwatched episode coming soon, or when it's ready. And then, yeah, they go up to that big old radio tower, completely shamelessly covering practically the last hint of sanctity not being re-ripped up in this rip-off spin-off, where Megamind sacrifices himself to be taken by Roxanne, and she, despite the satellite still sending off evil signals directly into her brain, just stops, 'cause love. But it's the kiss we did not deserve. The romance arc was far superior in the original movie. In fact, in this one, Megamind specifically diminishes Roxanne's role because she's female and takes on a more Hal approach in this series than ever before. Also, the romance practically appears out of nowhere. It was only really hinted once before in this series, really. And then she destroys the satellite. The mob stop mobbing, we time jump, Machiavellian is turned into Siri. My recording froze on a freeze frame of Minion Chum laughing to himself, which I think is awfully thematic to how this series treats the IP of Megamind, and they end by saying that they'll be destined for greatness. Yeah, alright then. No cliffhanger, no promise of Season 2. We'll see. Please, oh please, Megamind, spare me. But I did come to learn along the way that they are in fact making a Puss in Boots 1 as well. Yep, I know. I saw it in the ads while we were watching this very series. Nobody is safe, not any DreamWorks IP, but we kind of knew it was all downhill after The Wild Robot. If we're following the logic that the first chunk came out March 1st and the second chunk came out June 20th, by that logic, the next installment is in early October, and to be honest, I'm almost certain it will exist. Peacock doesn't care for our measly opinions. How dare us children of the first movie grow up and want to keep watching more. Now, if you don't mind me, I'm gonna very much take a rest for my voice. I'm very much proud of the unwatched episode that I've already recorded in the lead up to this video, so expect it either this weekend or the next. It's a big one, so we'll see. Anyway, I'd love to hear your lovely thoughts about Megamind 2 Part 2, so let us know in the comments or on our Discord server. And for now, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video, and I shall see you in a little bit.